Welcome to Storylines Live, the only podcast that explores the power and the meaning of the most important story in business. The one that answers why someone would buy from you, work for you, invest in you, or partner with you. This is the story that defines the very character and nature of an organization. At WordWrite, we call it your capital S story. In each episode, we feature guests who have great insights on business storytelling, who can share their experiences and key learnings to help you and your business do a better job of sharing your capital S story to deliver remarkable business results. In this episode, we're honored to have Kayla Starta of Refresh.io as our guest. Kayla is, like me, a bit of an entrepreneur, started her own firm, accidental entrepreneur. We'll get into that part of her story, I guess I would say. That kind of happened with me as well in forming WordWrite. And currently, she's a co-founder and principal at Refresh.io. Those who know WordWrite know that we're based in Pittsburgh, and Kayla had some time in Pittsburgh. She's now based in Cleveland with Refresh.io. Two very similar cities with an intense sports rivalry and a little bit of a difference in topography. And we'll get into that for sure. Kayla, welcome to Storylines Live.
Oh, Paul, it's so nice to be here. And thank you so much for that introduction. Always nice to be chatting with a fellow Yinzer turned Clevelander.
That's right. And in a weird twist of fate, friends, my dad's entire family is from Pittsburgh. It's one of the reasons why my wife and I are here. Actually, her mom is from this area too, but both of us grew up in Cleveland. And so, we understand the transition that Kayla went through going from Pittsburgh to Cleveland. We've been that.
That's right.
Before we get rolling, Kayla, anything that I didn't mention in my brief introduction that you would like to add that you think our audience should know about you?
No, I mean we'll dive into my story a bit later, but I'm definitely lifelong entrepreneur, and most recently underwent a merger with another marketing firm and to recently become Refresh. So we'll talk a lot about that and how that's kind of brought me to where I am today, and been a really integral part of my story as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Kayla, we always start off Storylines Live by asking our guests about their capital S story. And as I said in the introduction, there's four main questions that we at WordWrite believe a capital S story answers: why somebody would buy from you, work for you, invest in you, or partner with you. And we're always curious to find out from our guests which of the answers, those four answers, is most important to where they are today and their journey. Which one of those best fits what you're doing today?
I would 100% be partner. That immediately stood out for me when you listed those. I think that's something for one, my recent kind of merger and partnering with someone in that capacity for truly the first time in my entrepreneurship journey has already shown me how much more powerful a business can be, and how much more you can reach with someone versus by yourself. So really saw everything take a big turn for the better once you finding the right partner. And in a different vein, at Refresh, we really focus on our client relationships being partnerships. That word really has been so defining, and really especially the last couple months, but it's how I think we focus on treating our client relationships as well, really, as partnerships.
As fellow marketing PR practitioners, I think that's really a great take on that. We view our relationships with our clients the same way. We see ourselves as an extension of their team, regardless of how large their internal staff is that's devoted to this area of business. We want to help them succeed, and we want to be right there with them as a partner, right? You briefly touched on your story, and as business leaders as well as storytelling practitioners, if I can put it that way, pretty much every business leader actually has their personal story that connects to what they do. And I'm just curious, can you share with our audience how your personal journey led you to where you are today, your personal story.
Sure. Oh my gosh, I would say it's such a roller coaster of
Yeah.
about a decade now.
Yep.
But really, my story starts with, to your point earlier, Paul, it was really accidental, me getting into the entrepreneurship space. I always knew I wanted to be in marketing and PR.
Mhm.
I started as publicity director in high school,
There you
and I
go.
was a senior, and I was like, oh, I love it. I knew I wanted to be in marketing. So I always knew I loved marketing. I always knew really the element of um, creatively solving problems for clients. I loved that. I really always I loved that side of it. So I worked for a marketing firm right out of school, really small. I would define them as a startup, a little south of Cleveland, Ohio. And shortly after working for them, they probably about a year later, they went under. The business dissolved. The entrepreneur was pivoting to another direction. I would think I was 23 at the time. And I was just like, all right, now, now what? Um, and that's really when I will say two things at that point. I had a crazy year with that company, but a year where to be honest, learned so much about the inner workings of a startup, a world I did not know anything about.
Mhm.
I really kind of grew up. My mom wanted me to be a teacher.
Yeah.
Like she wanted me to be working, just a more traditional
Yeah.
job. And I think the entrepreneurship space was just something I was never really exposed to or considered as an option. So that first year of work, I was like, "Ooh, this is wild. Like this is really interesting." So when that company went under, essentially, my boss at the time really gave me permission to take a couple of those clients who we were going to leave behind
Mm.
with me as a freelance client. He said, "Hey, why
Wow.
don't you?" They need someone to do marketing for them still. You've grown a relationship with them. He encouraged me to incorporate, which I remember at the time I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, all right. And
I
I
love it.
started just doing a couple freelance clients on the side. And I want to note that I did get another full-time job at the time where that allowed me. I
Mhm.
was working remotely, and my arrangement there did allow me to do other work. So um, I was just started kind of doing it on the side, and it came time to, I'm like, okay, I should probably have a website, just little things. It's just very slow burn. I never really saw myself even as an entrepreneur. Really, people would ask me what I did for a living, and I would still like, I'm in marketing. And a friend would be like, she has a business, she does free, and I'd be like, yeah, I guess I do. I just never really fully, I don't know. I don't know what it was. I want to interject here and just say I think over the years I've learned to be very authentic to my story. So like
Right.
I didn't know want to be an entrepreneur. I didn't even know what it was. And that look at, we're gonna fast forward a bit, that basically that moment there snowballed to me truly launching my own business about 2 years later. I quit that full-time job I mentioned, went
Mhm.
fully out on my own, which was a very scary moment. And that was when it
Oh
was
yeah.
real for me. I was looking up domain names and trying to figure out what to call the company, and I came with Starta Strategies. My last name is Starta.
Yep.
The domain was available. I was like, sure, that'll work. Fun pinpoint about note about my name, my last name. I was watching, if anyone has ever seen the show The Playlist on Spotify. It's a
Mm.
really, really amazing account of the founder of Spotify's story.
Oh,
But in
really?
that show, it is shown. The show is originally produced in Swedish, and they have English subtitles. But anyway, come to find that Starta directly translates to launch or begin in Swedish. So I was like,
Okay.
hey, that all kind of worked out well.
Yeah.
So I went out on my own for a couple years, and really about last summer is when I started having more in-depth talks with a also fellow Pittsburgher
Mhm.
who had a marketing firm as well. We kind of complementing capabilities and referred clients off of each other and said, hey, why don't we try to do this together? So we merged last fall and have been now a team, much small but mighty team of six of us. We are really largely based in the Cleveland and Pittsburgh area, but we
Right.
serve clients nationally. So that's my story, and it's that's definitely the Spark Notes version, but it's not. It just shows that every little kind of piece of your career, things that you may not think are right at the time, will eventually lead you to a place where you're meant to be. Because I certainly never imagined this is where I was going to be in my career, but I would not want it any other way.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. My parents thought a really good job was being at the phone company for 30 years or something like that. Even after
Sure,
I switched my major in
sure.
college, my mother every summer when I came home would give me the Cuyahoga Community College summer course thing, and she'd underlined or highlighted all the accounting courses because she
Oh,
wasn't
that sounds like my mom.
yeah.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you. Um,
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah,
I
yeah,
described us, Kayla, as fellow storytellers, and certainly until now in this episode, we've been talking more about the word right take on storytelling. Can you share
yeah.
with our audience your take on the meaning of storytelling? How do you define it?
I mean, I think first my take on storytelling is that I think it's an underrated method
Mm.
that's critical in any business venture, and I'm sure you guys find this, especially in the ones that think they don't need it,
Oh
or
yeah,
think their business is just so simple, or that we don't where as you guys draw a lot of parallels behind the psychology behind why storytelling resonates. It to me, it's the backbone, especially as a marketer. It's
yeah,
the backbone of everything we do. Every social post tells a story. That is essentially what marketing and branding is. That's you guys is bread and butter. But it's essential and it's underrated. And I wish more people would just think, hey, I always try to do is put yourselves in the shoes of the person that what are they going to want to hear? What's going to, emotionally pull them to act? But I really think it's connecting with people, because that's at the end of the day, no
yeah.
matter what industry you're listening here from, or what part of you're, likely working in some way, shape, or form with a person or people. And that's sales, that's storytelling, that's marketing. That's all it is just connecting and talking to people.
Absolutely. We often say at WordWrite that the most important appliance in communicating is the one that requires no batteries, your brain. And that's the
Mm.
level at which the storytelling really makes a difference. Tools will come and go. I used to say to people coming out of school a few years ago, how many classes at college or university did you have in Facebook? And they would laugh because there weren't any. We're always behind
Mm-hmm.
the eight ball on the tools, right? Today,
Mm-hmm.
of course, when I asked that question of graduates, they laughed because they're not on Facebook. It's all about Snap or TikTok or
That's right.
IG or whatever else. But the point, really, that makes my point. It's the same, and that is that tools come and go. Anybody remember MySpace? And
Mm-hmm.
communication, people to people, like you just said, Kayla, is really where everything lies. And stories are, when the first person who started a fire on purpose tried to teach a second person how to do it, I'm sure that that was communicated in a story form, right? I mean, that's the way humans communicate.
I
Yeah.
love that. Oh, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And you think of it too, like really, I see what we do almost as digital marketers. We're almost the vehicle for the story. It's
Yes.
our job to make it look visually beautiful and to, embellish and use words that persuade and really, really make that story resonate. Where, I look back at WordWrite and your clients, it's developing that story. So
Absolutely.
like you said, it's over the years, the vehicles have changed, but it's all the same story at the end of the
Yep. We're
day.
trying to get the same results. We're trying to connect, as
That's
you
right.
said, people to people. Folks, we're going
Yeah.
to take a short break and we'll be right back with Kayla Starta, and we're going to dig more deeply into how she and the team at refresh.io help their clients. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Folks, welcome back to this episode of Storylines Live, the only podcast that explores the power and the meaning of the most important story in business. The story that we call the capital S story, because it answers these four fundamental questions: why somebody would buy from you, work with you, invest in you, or partner with you. In this episode, we're honored to have Kayla Starta of refresh.io as our guest. Kayla, I want to shift gears here a little bit and start to talk about you and your team and what you folks do at refresh.io. So could you give our audience a sense of how you help the people and businesses you serve?
Sure. So we help the businesses and people that we serve really just by providing them, and we focus on small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, really just providing them the foundation to succeed in the digital economy today. So
Right.
whether that is a beautiful, optimized website, eye-catching social media posts, paid advertising. So anything on the digital side of marketing and advertising, our team really supports those small businesses to really on a either short-term or long-term basis. If they need a one-off, a one-off project, we do that. But a lot of our work is on a really, long-term. Our goal is to be a long-term partner, for those small businesses. As we'll get into that a bit later.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you say makes you folks different from your competitors?
Ooh, good question. I would say first off, we are small business owners ourselves. So I shared a little bit of my story. Alex Palmier, the CEO and co-founder of Refresh Digital Strategy, he also has a similar background in mine. Came from a number. He's actually started several businesses in the marketing realm. But we are small business owners ourselves. We very authentically understand the client struggles, the struggles that our clients are going through, their priorities through the lens of the small business owner. So it's really cool now that Alex and I have partnered together to pinpoint everything that we do through the lens of a small business. So everything like our communication style, we know, we're flexible and we know that, hey, we're going to may probably have to text X client to follow up with them because they have a big, launch this week, something like that. So we're really flexible. Our pricing and packages are very flexible and realistic to the needs of smaller businesses. Our deliverables, what we offer, everything's really just tailored to the nuances of smaller entities.
That's great.
Yeah.
Obviously, from what you've shared, you have a passion for what you do. What brings you the most satisfaction in the work that you're doing with your clients?
I would say this sounds so cliche, but it genuinely really is true. It's when my clients' businesses are doing well.
Mhm.
We work with a lot of people, especially if they are a solopreneur. You just know just as well, Paul, the passion that small business owners have behind their own businesses. There's a different energy, there's a different motivation.
Yeah.
I mentioned our small team, there's seven of
Mhm.
us, six, seven of us. We all, including our account managers, our content managers, everyone feels a sense of accountability
Mhm.
for the clients. So I think that's when they're successful, when we see their businesses being successful, that also means we're successful and we're doing our job. So
Yeah.
it's just, to me, it's a win-win. And those are the days where I feel most fulfilled off of like a really amazing client call where we're able to share
Mhm.
really great results about, blog post ranking, or, paid ads driving a really high number of sales to the website. That's just, yeah, it's a good feeling.
Well, that leads naturally right into my next question, and that is, if you can, and you don't have to share names if you don't feel comfortable, but can you give us a sort of a sense of what a client success story looks like for our audience?
Oh, good question. So I'd say the first one that comes to mind is they're a event planning and catering company in the Maryland area. After COVID, they came to us. Just obviously, the events industry really took a big hit. They
Yeah.
weren't getting any calls. They were really struggling. It's like we don't know what we need to do, but we need more calls.
Mhm.
This is really when we go in and say, all right, what do you need? How can we don't try to sell them everything at once. It's all right. Let's start with a new website. So we built them a new website. And we really moved forward with a really simple strategy. We said, all right, let's do a newsletter every month. They had already been doing that. So we just kind of came in and helped them clean that up, reformat that, and generate 2 blogs a month, um, to really just get an increase in their organic traffic. We know a lot of brides, and people who are seeking events like that
Yeah.
are Googling and on Instagram. So we aligned our strategy with that. And after really about 6 months, and we're still working with them. This was about 2 years ago when we
Mhm.
started, but we are their search engine rankings are, I mean, they are in the top search results for local catering and events in their area. They're getting really consistent leads, and it just shows it's a really simple strategy that we put together on, to be honest, a pretty moderate budget. So theirs is more of a new, I would call it a quantitative win.
Yeah.
They've, and, wonderful keyword rankings and really great numbers that have driven business for them. Adversely, we also work with a nonprofit in the Kansas City area where they wanted to get reach more on a local grassroots level. They knew that a lot of there was going to be word of mouth and getting word out on social media. And they offer financial services to small businesses.
Okay.
So I will plug them. They're Pathway Financial Education. They're an incredible organization that does, like I said, financial literacy and workshops for small businesses, for underserved communities. But they came to us and said, "Hey, we have all this new programming that we want to launch. Amazing weekly workshops on everything from credit scores, debt reallocating." So they basically came to us and, "We have all these amazing programs that we're launching. Can you help us get the word out?"
Hmm.
So we really did a multi-pronged approach. We just, did a lot of LinkedIn, really heavy on LinkedIn with them, events, social media, a really robust newsletter, and they have just really gotten or selling out a lot of their workshops. Are getting, even just they'll email us with local press that they're getting organically. I love sharing their story because it's so much of it is a partnership.
Hmm.
They are working, they're an amazing team that's cranking out incredible programming, and it makes our job so much more fun to have all this amazing material, to get it to the right, early. Our job is just to get it to the right people. So they're just so fun to work with, and our results, especially this year, in the past, the first 6 months of the year so far have been awesome. So yeah, just a couple ways that
Hmm.
depend, very much depending on the needs of the small business, how we kind of just come up with that strategy, that really does look different for everyone. So
Love what you shared there. Clear, you're very passionate about delivering results for clients, and as you shared with the event organization, it doesn't always have to be something overly complex in order to deliver
yeah,
results, right? A strategy is, how am I going to get from point A to point B, right? And then the tactics are the things you do along the way, right? Which goes back to earlier discussion about tools. And I don't know what kind of tools we'll be using 5 years from now. Certainly, as we record this episode, there's a lot of talk about TikTok being banned. Who knows if that'll actually happen? I think that's going to be very difficult because so many people and organizations rely on TikTok. Uh, but that's just an example of how important it is to make that connection between people and focus on the story. And as you said earlier in the episode, Kayla, to focus on delivering the story in the way that it's going to be seen, heard, experienced by the people you want to reach, right? And we are in a
right.
digital economy. So much of what we're doing today is digital. I was thinking earlier, it's difficult for me to think of businesses that aren't digital. There's a digital component to practically everything we do these days.
Yeah,
So it's a truly a different environment that we're in. Kayla, is there anything that you want to
absolutely.
share with our audience that you haven't had a chance to share yet?
I don't think so. I just appreciate just the podcast, Paul, and you
Well,
guys
thank
really
you.
just continuing to promote and push the importance of storytelling. And my hope is that anyone listening to this at least had one takeaway. It's something that will help them in their personal or professional journey. So thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome. It's been a joy to have you on this episode. How can people find you? What's the best way to reach you?
Oh, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Kayla, and then my last name is Starta, Starta, or you can shoot me an email, at my first name, Kayla, at refresh.io, not .com, .io.
Got it. That's great. And folks, we'll put this in the show notes so that you can see things there. Kayla, once again, thanks for being with us for this episode. We really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to all of you who are listening to this episode as well. Without our listeners, this would not be much of a podcast. Storylines Live, the only podcast that explores the power and the meaning of the most important story in business, the one that answers why somebody would buy from you, work for you, invest in you, or partner with you. We call it your capital S story. Folks, all of us have that kind of a story for our organization. And we hope to have you with us next episode when we dig into the capital S story of another great organization and leader. Until then, take care.